Let's start. Welcome everyone to our Highgate Selectboard regularly scheduled meeting for March 18th, 2021. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. Is there anything for public comments that is not on the agenda? Okay. One thing from me, I would like to recognize that one of our former select persons has passed away on Tuesday. Jeff Tell lost his battle with cancer. So we express our sorrow and sympathy to the family. He was a veteran and he was a very strong influence in the community of Highgate. All right. Let's start off with the airport update. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good way to get a crowd.
Okay. You want to start with an overview, Heidi, and then we can go in for updates and what's changing and what are our potentials?
Yes, that sounds fine. I have a very brief overview, just designed to get us to where we are. So it's just a quick summary of what we're talking about. So we have called it the Highgate Airport Infrastructure Project. It's actually a Highgate commercial industrial infrastructure project that will also serve the airport. So this image is taken from the study. Wayne Elliott is here. He's going to be able to answer any questions and add information. So it would be beginning at MVU, where Swanton recently upgraded the lines, continuing along Route 78 to Airport Road, and then up Airport Road to serve that property. And this, I just wanted to bring forward that this is not a new idea that just fell out of the sky or some of our recent planners developed. This was the back of the 1971 town report, and it reads, Franklin County Airport, located in Highgate, where the hopes and dreams of the people of Highgate are centered for an industrial development. So this has been in park for a very long time. And so the question is, why now? And several things happened that made Highgate and Swanton Village start to think that maybe this was a time to act. And one of them is the state planned airport. We have representatives here from V-Trans Aviation who will be able to speak to their project. Swanton Village upgraded that water line and sewer lines to MVU. The proposed subdivision of the neighboring property into a 7-lot commercial park. Jim Harrison is with us also to speak to that project. The lack of vacant commercial industrial space in, I'm sorry, I forgot to share my screen. I'm the only one that can see this. Nobody said anything. Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna back up. This is the plan that was taken out of the study performed by Aldridge and Elliott, showing the scope of the project. And this is the back cover of the town report, 1972, the 71 report. and why now. I have mostly covered those. There is currently a lack of commercial industrial space in Franklin County. And Tim Smith and or Elizabeth is here if Tim did not join us. Burlington Airport is also at maximum capacity, and some of the cargo companies are bursting at the seams looking for different locations. So if when the state does complete the extension of the runway at the Franklin County Airport, some of those cargo companies could locate to Highgate. And additionally, the Vermont National Guard has included the Franklin County Airport in their 10-year plan as a potential destination. So a lot of things came together at one time to make this project sound feasible. So a group looked at feasibility. We got a $45,000 grant from Vermont Community Development Program, and we matched that with some support from Franklin County Industrial Development, my in-kind hours, as well as a sizable contribution from Airport Sand and Fill, the private developer. And the working group included Bethany Remmers, Regional Planning Commission, Tim Smith, FCIDC, Border Air Limited, Cliff and George Coy, who managed the Franklin County Airport, Trini Broussard, Roland Tebbets, Reg Beliveau, Swanton Village Manager, Elizabeth Nance, Swanton ED Coordinator, Jim Harrison, Airport Sand and Fill, Select Board members Bruce and Sharon, Luke, Planning Commission, DRB, Richard Trombley, and Wayne Elliott, Aldridge and Elliott, and Jeff Carr, Economic Policy Resources. So the study indicated it would be highly advantageous to extend water and sewer into the commercial industrial district, coincide with the state and private development to enhance values of commercial properties, attract high-end manufacturing that would need water and sewer, to attract aviation-related businesses to the area, to eliminate the need for sprinkler systems in the commercial buildings, which makes them more affordable, more feasible for companies to move in, and to improve job opportunities in our region for increased pay and a reduction in travel time for residents, and to enhance the function of the airport and to create additional tax revenue through the addition of hangars and other upgrades that will be happening there. This project need, as I mentioned before, it's been identified for many years. It's in the town plan. It's been a vision for commercial development. And our area has a high rate of low to moderate income, 51%. It makes us eligible for some grants for this purpose. But it also speaks to the need for some better job opportunities. I had 25% from a census map, but in our town plan, I noticed it said a third of our residents are driving 60 plus minutes one way to work. It's a big burden for employees. And the area currently offers few job opportunities. Our main industry is agriculture. We have a very large commercial industrial district, but less than 2% of commercial use in our town. It has been stagnant for a very long time. And Highgate residential growth has increased steadily, increasing need for services with little commercial growth to offset tax burden. The anticipated outcomes are some very marketable business properties that are easily located. And, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let Ty is trying to get in. Okay, sorry. It would be improving hangar values, which equates to tax revenue for the town, improved area job opportunities, potable water to an area with poor water quality. I believe the airport is buying bottled water, same as a lot of businesses do. We have very high sulfur content, and also sewer service to the area to increase manufacturing potential. We have some construction estimates here. Water is 1,590,000, sewer 1,810,000. And Wayne Elliott has cautioned me that we need to focus on the fact that this price will increase. Time is an enemy to a budget, so I'm going to let him speak to that. The funding path, some of the things we have looked at so far, we have secured a Northern Borders Regional grant in the amount of $507,107. We are hopeful. This says the trans grant. It should say an allocation in the transportation bill of $1 million. We have our legislators here who can speak to that process as well. That's still not a commitment. It is pending. We have applied for a $500,000 grant to Vermont Community Development. We are eligible to apply for up to half of the project cost. Sorry. And we are eligible for USDA loan. And we are still working to determine if FAA can assist us with some of the infrastructure cost. And there's also a large amount of stimulus funding that is circulating. So these are all potentials. And we have some informed people who can answer some of the questions. This is a rough slide to see, but we have looked at some potentials. I think I can show this better on this. We put together just some concepts of, between a $680,000 match down to $180,000 match, what that would mean for the town. It was a $30,000 commitment annually for $680,000. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to use some of the transportation bill as our local match and not need such a heavy loan. There would also be operation and maintenance obligations that we would contract with Swanton Village to cover. And the next steps would be that we have to achieve a public vote before September of this year to maintain our Northern Borders grant and our USDA loan eligibility. And we are not able to apply to EDA for that final grant until we have a positive public vote. And then also understanding what stimulus funding we can apply to that. So that is the end of the sharing of that presentation. So let me see, Tim has joined us. So I'm hoping that the other folks present can go through and share a little. I don't know if we should start with you, Jeff.
I thought we were going to have Wayne go first.
Oh, okay. What?
He's got the details on what we're trying to do and some information on the other bond votes that he's been involved with, and then because that kind of teased me up.
Jeff is never brief, so I'd rather go before Jeff. So
I will need tonight.
So a little bit about the funding. Want to compliment Heidi's obviously put a lot of work into this for quite a period of time, and it's amazing. I think things keep changing weekly and start even looking better and better. And of course, the last few days with some of the things at the federal level, things are even changing by the day and the hour. So I think that the picture on that even looks better kind of moving forward. We do a lot of these types of municipal infrastructure projects. And one thing I just wanted to kind of emphasize with the board is, no matter how great the funding package, there's probably likely going to be some amount of debt retirement, some amount of loan and debt retirement moving forward. It's very difficult to put everything together, in a great financial package where everything is just grants and subsidies. So that will probably have to be some piece of the project moving forward. And then especially with the EDA and the Northern Borders part, there's a 20% non-federal match required anyways. But, irregardless if things kind of play out as they're looking, it's an incredibly great funding package. And, the loan and the annual debt retirement looks like it's going to be minimal. And hopefully, everybody kind of takes the long-term view here, because this is an incredible project with a huge amount of potential. A little bit about the costs. Everybody's aware we'd kind of really hoped, when we got into this back 2 or 3 years ago, really kind of hoped to be under construction here, mid to late summer this year. But with the COVID and everything going on, obviously things have been delayed a little bit. So my thing with cautioning with Heidi, what we're really trying to do by setting the bond vote date is making sure we can really try to get to construction next year. So the goal would be to, put this out to bid next spring. It's very important to get these projects out to bid, in that January to March timeframe. We're right into that right now. That's the best way to ensure you get good competitive pricing and contractor interest. So it means the project would really be under construction the majority of next year, probably with a tentative completion of towards the end of the year. So to make that kind of happen, there's a lot that needs to be done here over the next, approximately 12 months, and kind of working it backwards to get it ready to bid. There's the engineering part of that. So there's a bunch of field work that needs to be done. That needs to be started before the snow flies. So you got to put full, design contract documents for the water sewer work, obviously obtain the permit. So we want to make sure there's obviously time to factor that in so we can make sure we hit the opportune bid schedule time and, fully utilize the construction season for next year. The other thing that we typically assist communities with is, kind of the bond vote process and everything from scheduling to the public education outreach. And God, since November, we've had a bunch of them this year. Timing is very important. You can only have 2 within a 12-month calendar period. Heidi mentioned the deadline on the Northern Borders is, you have to have a positive vote by September, otherwise you lose that grant. Typically, we kind of discourage, and these are things for the board to really think about, timing and schedule moving forward. Typically discourage having a bond vote from probably, middle of July through Labor Day. Kids are out of school, people are busy, they're into other things. It's really hard to get anybody's attention. So that kind of leaves, getting something in between now, and roughly the beginning of June. There's still plenty of time to, prepare, get the public education outreach stuff out, get all the warnings. The other option is doing it, right after Labor Day in September. The other thing to keep in mind, whenever you do a bond vote, kind of off schedule, and by that I mean November, maybe town meeting, you're going to have a lesser turnout. But maybe there isn't really another option, because waiting until November really probably isn't a choice at this point, without putting that Northern Borders grant to risk. So that's something for the board to think about. That's really the big next step and decision here, is when you want to hold that vote, so everybody can start the preparation and educating the public and be ready for that, because that really needs to happen here, and especially getting a positive bond vote so you can kind of move forward with all the other elements to get the project, pushed forward. Any questions from the board, or?
Jeff, I guess that means you're up.
I guess it does. It's a pleasure to be with everybody again. it was about 13 months ago, I think. The last time I was up, it seems like yesterday. I was up with you, and we had members of the community. Lots of the members of the Vermont legislature were there. We had people from a neighboring municipality that we were collaborating with, and it was something I think I mentioned to be envious of in the scheme of things. I think I used the term, I think any community or part of the state who was looking at an opportunity like what you had before you would kill for the opportunity to have that. And I meant that literally. The airport infrastructure project, in my 30 some odd years of experience in doing this type of work, was one of those rare types of projects where usually when you start, the world and the opportunities are all out before you, and then the process of the project narrows the opportunities. And this was one of those rare projects where I think the opportunities expanded themselves. I think that was something that was extremely attractive, I think, about this. And, you know, as I went through all the things that I was seeing, I saw the location of the project. We all know where it's located, 12 miles from the New York border, half a dozen miles from the Quebec border. We got part of Lake Champlain bordering the town. We had the opportunity to utilize some available wastewater capacity from a neighboring municipality. We're well positioned with this to help Tim and his shop out and the other economic development professionals to deal with an absolute lack of inventory of developable assets for anybody that would be interested in coming in and establishing a high quality, high paying employer. You had a commitment from a private sector partner, which I think is firmed up with the letters that have come recently to the town from Jim Harrison and the landowner of an adjacent parcel to the airport property. So this is a good example of public-private partnership. We also, as part of this, have an unusual opportunity to have a very high percentage of the infrastructure expansion be funded through, the combination of grant funds from state and federal government, from the FAA, from the state capital budget. And now, as I think Wayne points out quite rightly, the American Recovery Plan, where one of the state and local criteria for funding and receiving funding is infrastructure investments in water and wastewater and other types of infrastructure projects. So I think everything that was true 13 months ago is still now true. And I think it's even enhanced in the scheme of things. And, you know, even the Federal Reserve yesterday came out and said that they expected the US economy to grow by 6.5% in 2021. They're usually on the low end of the scale. So the economy is getting ready to recover and then hopefully get to an expansionary phase, but recover at a much more rapid pace than has been the case, as long as we can keep the virus under control. And for members of the legislature and for, for Randy and Corey, if you total up the money that came from CARES Act 1, CARES Act 2, and now if we believe the estimates from Senator Leahy's office for the American Recovery Plan, it's over $5.3 billion. And that's just what we can count, where there's state by state data and the direct funding to state that's going to come to the state. Either it's already here and been spent, or it's going to be spent, or it's committed to be spent between now and 2 to 3 years from now. That, I think, is just a tremendous opportunity. You know how much that is? That's $13,100 for every man, woman, and child in our state. That's unprecedented, folks. And there is, I think, an opportunity here to develop this asset so that it can be the recipient of targeted pursuit of some of the economic activity that's going to be coming over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, last year, to the select board's credit, they decided not to just do the incremental approach, just do the water, but to pursue the water and the wastewater. And that in and of itself was a pretty bold act by the legislature. And I think it was important because that's the key to the wastewater requirements that are needed to unlock some of the higher value added, higher paying employment opportunities that could come at least adjacent to the airport, in Jim Harrison's commercial and industrial park. I think it was a good decision because then it allowed Heidi and the town staff and the folks that Heidi works with to go out and pursue, the grant funding and make the applications to Northern Borders and to line up. And I think that level of commitment, I think, was also important for the state to see. And I think Trini's done a great job of laying out what the opportunities are and working with the FAA to do the things at the airport that actually can create the type of activity that draws business into the region. And so I think what you're hearing from Heidi and also from Wayne is that we're coming kind of up on another critical decision point that, calls upon you to see the value of the opportunity that's before us. And sometimes it's very hard, particularly if we know that in the end, there's going to probably be at least some commitment of the town's taxpayer resources into this as part of a comprehensive package. Although I think the opportunity is that you can make that smaller than it normally would be the case because of all these factors that have come into alignment. I said to Heidi the other day, I said, not only have the planets come into alignment, but it looks like the moons around those planets are also coming into alignment on this particular project. And so I think, there's a difference between a good risk and a bad risk for the select board and the community to take. And, I think that the decision to go forward and, I think Wayne's experience with some of the townwide votes, and of course, we're going to have to work like heck, get the information out there, right information out there to the public. But I think Wayne's experience with some of those recent votes on infrastructure tells us that the voters are pretty savvy. They understand the value of making investments in the types of things that help the economy grow. I think they understand the importance of infrastructure. I think they understand the importance of being an attractive place to bring high quality employers in. You've got 1,300 people that live in the community and commute out to go to work. It's also environmentally friendly to bring in some jobs so that they won't have to drive to other employment centers to find their employment. So, they're calling for a vote, for scheduling a vote, which requires a commitment. They're asking for more opportunity to continue to go out and continue to secure, whether it's state funding from the capital budget, some additional state support, more grant funding, and even, for what's left, find a revolving loan program at a preferred rate that would allow you to have the type of a project where if the taxpayers do have to make a commitment, it's a manageable debt service commitment to advance this project. And I think if you do that, you'll empower your team that's already made tremendous progress to keep working on it. And I just think that, I sat in your chair in my community for almost 10 years. And I would have bet my whole political career on pursuing an opportunity like this, because I think this is such a positive opportunity for the community. Now, I'm not in your chairs and, I may be a bigger risk taker than the average person was, that I only faced the voters 3 times, in 3 terms. I was appointed to, the first part for a member that couldn't continue. But, I'd encourage you to recognize the opportunity before you, that the team that you've assembled, and particularly Heidi and her team, have been doing a great job of pursuing this up to now. They need an additional indication from you as to whether or not you want them to take the next step to schedule the vote, which, would help us to secure the northern border funding and then build upon that as part of the financing package. And, I hope you'll seize it. Allow your team to work it hard. Keep the staff's nose to the grindstone in a good way, okay? Because I think that, this truly is an opportunity for a transformational, I would also venture to say once in a generation, opportunity for you to boost the prospects for not only the community, but your neighboring municipality and everybody in the whole region. And I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tim, can you speak to the need for such a project for us?
Sure, Sharon, thank you. And I'd also like to share that Heidi's done an outstanding job on pulling this all together. I think it's been impressive. First of all, let me say that we have right now 2 buildings that are vacant for manufacturing or industrial uses throughout the whole county. Both actually happen to be in Highgate. One is the former Vermont Brick Building, which is under negotiation and hopefully will be purchased and refurbished. But in its current state, it's not space for the most part that anyone would be interested in. And then the other one is a former Habitat for Humanity building out on the airport road. And there's discussions going on with that one right now as well. So we could be down to soon to be no vacant space of any size. And I've said it before to different select boards and communities, but I just put together a report for one of our grants. And since COVID started, we've had at least 7 inquiries for space. They include 50,000, just 2 weeks ago, 50,000 square foot for warehousing. We've had 20,000 square foot request for production, 12,000 square foot by a Canadian and owned manufacturing facility, which is the one interested in the airport space. 5,000 square feet for a Canadian wine bottling company, 60 to 80,000 square feet for a pharmaceutical company, 5,000 square feet for a metal finishing company, and 5,000 square feet for cold storage. So that's just been in the last 8 or 9 months, and we have nothing for the most part to show or to attract new business. And as I've said before, the exciting thing about Jim Harrison and the potential for his space is Jim has the wherewithal to construct spec buildings to attract these businesses. And I think he would be successful with that construction of those buildings, which can accommodate some of these smaller manufacturings with the belief that they would continue to grow over time. And I think if Jeff wants to jump on this as well, but I would caution the voters that a lot of people think that economic development is something that will happen overnight or within a year or two. Well, economic development is a longer process. It's a process of creating the space, the recruitment. Was that Jeff? Okay. So it's more of a generational discussion. If you look at the industrial park that was in Swanton or the one in St. Albans Town, those were established 50 years ago, and they're paying dividends long after the creation. So you've got, you're going to have the opportunity for an industrial park with 7 or 8 buildings. Those aren't going to be full within 2 years or 3 years. It'll be a longer process. But as we look forward, I think back to those forefathers who chose to put industrial parks in Swanton and Georgia too, for that matter, and St. Albans, and look at what the benefits have been over the years. our county would not be in the position we are now without those 3 industrial parks. So this is something that you're looking out 10, 15, 20 years. You're making the investment now so that your kids have a place to live and work with quality jobs moving forward. So, you know, I don't think we can rest on our laurels. I think we really need to look at being creative on creating space and attracting new business to the region. I think that's about all I had to say, Sharon.
Okay, thank you. How about Cliff? Cliff, can you tell us what this project would mean to the airport and your part in this?
Thank you, Sharon. You know, from the airport's perspective and the usage perspective, having potable water and fire protection here at the airport is paramount to grow the airport. This is what businesses expect to have if they wish to operate from here. We've seen our usage just in aircraft coming and going here increase pretty dramatically throughout COVID, and we're not seeing that stop at all. Flight school is going gangbusters. We're having new customers and new aircraft show up on a daily basis now, and we've got potential. Those are people flying in here, business people coming in, looking for opportunities here in this area, and to lay down roots in this area. So having this opportunity for Jim to set up his industrial park, to have the National Guard come up here and consider this space here. We have a lot of area, 350 acres here of available space in addition to Jim's proposed industrial park. So we've got a lot of area here available for development. It's flat, it's on sand, it's ready to go. And, you know, as Jeff and Tim and Wayne, you know, all have said, that geographically located, you can't ask for a better spot to develop a space that gives this mode of transport and an opportunity to someone that wants to put a business here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Aaron, this is Trini Broussard. Can I just clarify something there?
Absolutely.
I just want to not leave folks with the wrong impression of what Cliff just said. We do have acreage there that's on the airport, but the development on an airport is limited to an activity that requires that their business be located on an airport. So we do have space there for entities where the aircraft have to be able to fly in, or they have to have in close proximity to get access to that airport for other reasons. You know, mechanic business, folks that paint aircraft are some examples. So it's not open to just any type of economic development that you can bring onto that land, just so folks have that clarity.
Okay. So following through with that, Trini, can you tell us what kind of plans that the state is looking to develop on this property or project, since we know that you are a major partner in this as well?
So tonight we have with us the project manager who is actually managing the capital projects there. He's ready to present some of where those are. So if we could start with Kyle, that would probably be the best place so folks understand what infrastructure we're going to be making improvements on.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you, Trini and Sharon. My name's Kyle Wells. As Trini said, I'm a VTrans project manager for the Franklin County State Airport. And thank you for your time and letting me present on this. So I'm just gonna give you a quick update on all the work that we're doing up there at the moment. So our full build out looks like this: runway reconstruction, the existing length, widening 15 feet, runway extension 1,001 feet to the south, taxiway expansion 1,001 feet to the south, all new lighting and electrical vault, a new fence that'll tie in the north end to complete all of the fencing at the airport to keep the deer off and other wildlife, relocation of the segmented circle, obstruction clearing on and off airport, new navigational aids, and associated work for that construction. So the design, permitting, and construction costs for the overall project, $8.5 million. Another project I'm working on is the aviation easements. And there are 23 parcels around the airport that we're currently working on obtaining easements on to remove obstructions for the extended runway. That project is estimated at $800,000. That involves deed research, survey, right-of-way plans, deed writing, appraisals, negotiations, and acquisitions. Right now, we're currently in the appraisals part of that project. So if anyone on here is a local that lives nearby, you probably have been contacted by our consultant, Mike Keller is his name. And I just wanted to thank Wendy, the town clerk, and Heidi, because you guys have been fantastic in helping us pull all the deeds, especially during COVID, and do all the title research. You guys have been very, very helpful. So we appreciate that at VTrans a lot. So thank you again. Let's see what else. Our projected schedule.
Kyle, do you have a timeline for this project?
Yep, I actually was just about to go on that, so perfect timing. The projected schedule is all dependent on easement acquisition and permitting, as we all know are sometimes a wild card, but definitely achievable. Tree removal is anticipated for next winter, so that would be actually not next winter. It would be the winter of 22 and 23. And the construction would be the construction season is anticipated in 2023. That's again with the permits and the acquisitions going as planned. And I am full steam ahead on that. So that's what I'm working towards. We are also working on hangar master permitting, is a legislative project that VTrans is working on for and with that is we're permitting as much as we possibly can on the airport for a hangar owner to come in, and be a lot easier to say, I want to build here, here's my plan, and we'll have a lot of Act 250 completed, stormwater permitting completed, wetland permits if needed, all of those permits that a private entity building a hangar would have to do if they first came on with a proposal. So we're proposing 6 small hangars, which is 60 feet by 60 feet, and 3 medium hangars, which is 60 by 80. So right now, some of my colleagues are working on that a little bit more than me, but I review the documents. And so that's going on concurrently. So this is perfect timing.
Is this project secured its funding?
They're all grant applications. So we work with the FAA on a capital improvement plan, and my job is to fill out the grant applications, and then it's up to the FAA to grant us those awards.
For Sharon, to help you understand how financing and funding at the FAA work, we work with them to come out with a 5-year plan on what our capital projects are, and they kind of balance that across their entire region. So the FAA gets a certain allocation and they get told what their priorities are. And then, you know, all of us states, as well as some of the municipal entities in the region that own airports, we go in and kind of arm wrestle on why our project is better and why it meets their criteria better. And we come out with what they say is a plan and how they intend to fund their projects. So we know going into these that the funding we need to make these happen is in that regional plan, but they will tell you, oh, it's not a guarantee for funding. Once in a while, what that means is we may wait a year or we may get bumped up a year in the funding, but overall we know that we're in their plan and we're moving towards bringing that project to construction. But we have to be flexible because, you know, somebody else's project may run over and need more money, and that's been us in the past. So as a region, you have to balance the available funds. So we could see ourselves jump up in the process if we're ready, or take an extra year. But, you know, we know that the funding is kind of there in that plan, although we can't say it's guaranteed because they won't use that word.
Okay.
Hey, Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a question to this young man that was just talking. He keeps everything's going bigger at the airport and 1,000 feet this way and that. Has anybody looked into, we've got a local high school right there. Is that going to affect anything with bigger airplanes coming in, noises? I know we got around 800 kids in that school. Has anybody took consideration of that high school?
During our environmental assessment, sound was one of the criteria that was looked at, and there's not a negative effect to extending the runway. So,
okay.
I don't.
Bigger planes coming in, and hey, you're going to cut trees out and everything. You know, we want to make sure that's not a hazard. That school was there, and you know, everything should be covered to make sure everything's going to be. Them kids are going to be safe.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we put up the fencing around the whole airport too, to protect any children or high schoolers from wandering in. And we want to make sure that everyone stays off the airfield for sure, that is not being safely escorted around.
Because there is a lot of trails out there, and I know your cross-country team, it runs out there and everything, and dirt bikes and all that. So, you know, I'm a little nervous knowing, well, I know where that school is and where the airport is, and here we are going bigger. I just hope that the state of Vermont is looking into making sure that everything's going to be safe up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, those are very good concerns, and we are aware of that. Luckily, we're extending it not towards the high school, but away from the high school towards 78. So, but those are valid concerns, and it's the same critical design aircraft weight. So it's the same aircraft that land today that will be landing after the extension. It's the same weight.
Yeah, the other part that you heard Kyle talk about was completing the security fencing. So that fence will make it so that the airport is completely enclosed. So the dirt bikes and the ATVs and whatnot can't actually get into where the aircraft are operating. And that's part of that. As we expand, we know we're coming into a greater territory, which is harder to monitor. So the FAA is very particular about us trying to get that enclosed so it's a safe area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we just got a report that the fence is working really well. It's kind of corralling the dirt bikers around the airport, so it's a great success so far. So we're happy about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go too much further, are there any questions for any of the people that have spoken so far? Yes, Senator Brock.
Just a question for the financial planning for this. Have you taken into account the monies the town is going to receive from the American Recovery Act?
Not yet, because we're not quite sure how much of that we're going to actually get.
Well, the number is 350,000 as of yesterday. So that might be of help Swanton is going to get 650,000. And if you don't have the details, it might be useful to talk to the league, and they can probably fill you in. Now, it's still not entirely certain the exact uses, but it would seem as though this kind of infrastructure project is just the kind of thing that fund had in mind.
Mm-hmm. I think Stephanie is prepared to speak a little bit on the Recovery Act.
I got a question for Senator Brock. Can you repeat that number? I didn't quite catch that number. That
for Highgate, it's 360,000.
Thank you.
Senator, this is Tim Smith. I think it's actually going to be more than that because of the county money that's going to be distributed as well.
Well, you're absolutely right, Tim. That's correct. The federal government distributed money to cities and towns and counties, and of course, since we don't really have a county government, that's money's got to be distributed further.
Okay.
Heidi, Sharon.
Yes, Bruce.
Heidi, I'd like to ask you if you could follow up on what Senator Brock is telling us, because you know fully well select boards had no information pertaining to this amount of money yet. I'm sure it's forthcoming, but
absolutely, yes. They're doing a great job of keeping us informed. I did forward a couple emails around that came from Regional Planning Commission. And we did receive another email from Congressman Welch's office about some opportunities for special funding packages. And again, I'm going to rely on Bethany. The information is changing daily, and we're learning more each day. So I think she probably has some more information that she could share. Are you prepared, Bethany, to jump in?
Yeah, I just have a few points to add. Senator Brock, gave you the magnitude of the funding that we at least anticipate for Highgate. And I think some things to keep in mind that unlike other recovery funding packages that had to be spent very quickly, this one municipalities will have until the end of 2024 in order to use the funds. So definitely enough time to match the funds up to a good project and make sure that it's being used well. As Jeff mentioned, water and wastewater are going to be an eligible use of the funds, in addition to broadband. I'll point out that transportation, so bridges and roads, doesn't appear to be eligible for this money that's going directly to municipalities. So keep that in mind. But fortunately, Highgate has a few water, wastewater projects ready to go. So I think you're in a unique position. For other communities that might not already have a project identified, the League of Cities and Towns, our economic development partners such as FCIDC and the regional planning commissions will be trying to provide support to our towns in order to identify a project if they don't have it. And then the League is going to be critical in helping towns, making sure that they're using the funding, that they're compliant with all the rules and regulations. So we don't have much more right now. As you said, Heidi, more is coming out day by day. And we're just anxiously looking for the guidance from the feds on the specifics on how the funding can be used.
Okay. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. It is a very fluid situation at the moment. And I would agree that we are very well versed at this moment to make things happen that we might not otherwise have had an opportunity to do so. Jeff?
I wanted to ask either Corey or Randy or any of the representatives, is there any hope for the proposal that was initially floated for a project-based TIF funding that might be employed in this kind of a project?
It would probably been in Randy's committee. I'm not on a committee that deals with TIFs, so
we are right now in the process of working on a bill, so-called mini TIF bill, that might be applicable and probably would be applicable. It's got to get out of our committee to the floor, which will probably be next week on the reporter. Not the reporter, though. I take that back. I did report on it in appropriations today. So it should be on the floor next week and then go over to the House. But yes, it does. It does have the opportunity for some funding. It has a max it's designed for smaller towns, and it has a $5 million max per project.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
I would just add in, Jeff, I think that'll be a tougher fight in the House than in the Senate. The chair of Ways and Means is much more critical of TIFs than other folks in the building.
Yeah, Corey, I suspect that's because the TIFs always involve the local recapture of education funding dollars.
Right.
But the infrastructure doesn't go away and it eventually ends up in the state's hands anyway. So there's just a time, we're arguing over the timing.
Okay, so Elizabeth and Reg, can you speak to what this project may do for Swanton as well as Highgate?
Elizabeth, you want to start off? And,
no, I'm going to let you go first, Reg, because you got the water sewer.
you guys speak on this? Or?
You go ahead, start. Okay. I don't have enough information to say it.
So one of the things we had Jeff do was when he did his analysis for economic development, and he looked at our location as well. And there is a huge economic impact and positive for Swanton in the town and village. So that's a plus. Speaking with Wayne, I mean, Wayne's worked with us for years and years and years. He knows our infrastructure. He knows how much capacity we have, and we should be able to handle pretty much anything that goes out in there, beside 4 or 5 breweries. But for the most part, we should be good. What else, Sharon, you'd like?
Well, and I'll kind of step in, and I think this region is really Swanton, Highgate, Sheldon, the rest of Franklin County, Lamoille, and so forth, with the rail trail getting finished sooner than I think any of us thought. There's a real focus on this county, and the future, barring anything we don't know about, looks really bright. And I think from an economic development standpoint, we need to keep pace with what's going on. And I think this project really will help us keep pace and be proactive instead of reactive. And I think sometimes we don't necessarily do that as well as we can. So I think this project, and I'll echo Tim that Heidi's done a great job. And I think with all the work that has gone on, it really needs to move forward and make sure we don't lose the that we do have. So it's just a great piece of a larger puzzle that really will make Franklin County even better than it is.
And Neil wants to add something as well, Sharon.
Yes,
yeah.
Neil Spear, Swanton Village President. I just want to say, I don't want to repeat what everybody else has said, but anybody that's lived in Franklin County for more than a year knows that the development opportunities locally with the state permitting process, the opportunities of few, and this seems to be a breath of fresh air in the economic development for this area, because the state is on board with it, And we have both Swan Town and Village and Highgate involved, committed, and it seems like a rare opportunity for major development in this area. And I think it would be amiss to let this pass by, and I'm all for moving forward as fast as we can. Of course, I'm not a voter in Highgate, so that's not pertaining to me, but for the area in general, it's going to be far-reaching from Highgate. The benefits are going to be far-reaching. And thanks to Heidi and the state for pushing this forward, even in these tough times in the past year. So thank you.
Thank you. Reg, just a question. Do your voters need to have a vote to approve this plan, or is that not a voter vote?
No, I mean, we looked into it, and the voters, I mean, we're not going into debt for anything, so they don't need to vote on it.
Okay.
But I mean, we've been making it public known for quite some time now. So,
sure.
Of course, I don't get on Facebook and listen to all the other bad stuff, so I wouldn't know what's happening. Trustees,
okay, I can say that we're very, very fortunate to have such a large group and a large number of partners in this airport infrastructure. Wayne and Jeff, the state, the Harrisons, our legislatures, Northwest Regional Planning. We're very fortunate to have all of you on board with this project. The town certainly couldn't have handled that project by itself.
Sharon, this is Corey Parent. I do want to mention too, the whole Franklin County delegation is 100% behind this project and sees it as one, if not its top priority, one of its top priorities for the region. We understand how important this is. So, you know, we just have your local legislators here, but we all, you know, whether it's Barbara Murphy in Fairfax or any of us, we all understand the importance of this. So anything we can do in the State House to, you know, as more money opens up, you know, keep us engaged, because, you know, I remember talking about this project 3-4 years ago, I think with Trina when I was in the House. So, you know, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, it certainly has.
Could Corey or Brian speak to the allocation and the transportation bill and what the progress is on that, please?
Okay, I can take a stab at that. The House Transportation Committee voted out the transportation bill 11-0 last week. In that bill, what we have done is basically approve the governor's recommend the plan, which is in the book. And we did add some money for other one-time expenditures. But in that book is where it's mentioned the $1 million for the airport, for the Franklin County State Airport. So that cleared our committee. It's going to be out on the floor of the House. I believe it's going to be next Tuesday for the second reading. Third reading would be Wednesday. Then, assuming that it passes, it'll find its way over to the Senate, where it will go to the Senate Transportation Committee and go through the same process there. My understanding of the $1 million, and Trina, you probably could shed some light on this, but the $1 million is out of that million will also come the money that the state needs to connect their buildings to the the services. So I'm not sure exactly what the split of all that money would be, but there are other monies. What Senator Brock mentioned this evening, I haven't heard about that on our side, and Lisa's shaking her head. We're getting it in bits and pieces. But I did see Congressman Welch on the 6 o'clock news tonight kind of mention about infrastructure, water, sewer and broadband for Vermont municipalities. So so something is definitely in the wind. But as far as what's being allocated and is coming out of the transportation fund, it's $1 million, and that hits the floor in the House on Monday, Tuesday.
I'll add in there. I talked to Secretary Flynn earlier this week, and of that million, I think he did say about 275 was slated for hookups. So there is that piece. I don't know if that's inclusive in your 3.4 million, but if not, it's probably more of a $725,000 investment to the project of those costs.
And just to update that, the estimate that we just got in from Wayne actually takes it down to closer to 200,000. So it's whatever remains. It'll be in the 750 to 800,000 probably that's available to go directly to the project. And to help folks understand that, you heard that the Northern Borders Grant has a match that can be non-federal. Those state funds can be used for that match funding. So it helps, it can help leverage additional federal funds that are out there in all these infrastructure programs that are coming through right now.
Okay, that's great news.
And I will just add, Sharon, that if we basically I leave no stone unturned. I know Lisa won't on the House side, and Paul as well. So if we hear something, we'll try to get confirmation and get in touch with Heidi about it as soon as possible.
We appreciate that a lot. We know you're all looking out for us, and we appreciate that. So, Jim, are you on with us?
I am on with you. Without the video, my wife, God bless her, had to leave, take a grandkid over to the Sugar House, and we played with it a little bit before she left, and we ended up losing the video part. So she's not here. Oh, God bless. But anyway, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you looking for from my end?
So what's this project mean for you? What are your plans going forward?
Okay, fair enough. So if anyone understands or knows who we are, once we get committed to something, we're pretty much full speed ahead. It took us 7 years to get our wind project up on the mountain completed, permit trail, whatever. And we just took us 3 years just recently to get a quarry permitted and built at our ready mix plant in Georgia. And we have other various projects that we have done. So we are committed to this 8-lot, 7-lot subdivision, industrial subdivision here at the airport. We did get through sketch plan in the town of Highgate, only to have the state come to us and did ask us if we'd be interested in doing a land swap. And we usually will look at most anything. So anyway, 16 acres that they thought would work pretty well for the state at the northwest side of our project to do some hangars. They came up with a plan, I think like 14 hangars there. And they would give us 16 acres on the other end of the development. And we looked at it and we thought it was a viable situation. So anyway, long story short is that's been ongoing for quite some time, but yet it really isn't holding us up much because we can't go much further than sketch plan on either one of our projects because we need to know if it's municipal sewer and water or on site. So, so we're sort of in timeout for more than just the land swap reason. But we are committed 100%, and we understand the timelines. It takes time, but it seems like now it's getting to the point where the vote and whatever's got to happen. But anyway, I just, if anybody has been around us, once we get committed to something, we'll chase it till we get there. So, and just as another aside from that, we have had just through the rumor mill. I mean, I can't share the situations, but we have a fair amount of interest on want to know when these lots would be available. It was kind of surprising the way it has gone on that end. You know, it's hard to understand where it comes from, but yet it's needed. You know, so anyway. Other than that, I think that's probably all I have.
Okay. So is there anyone else that would like to speak? Kathy? Okay. Adam? Okay. Lisa?
Thank you anyway.
All right, now now everybody's turned shy. So Wayne, I have a question for you. You talked about wanting to see a vote in June. Why June? Why not July?
Well, over my many years, we've always kind of discouraged bond votes over the summer. It's hard to get people interested. You know,
right.
People are kind of there, and you know the kids are in school into early June. After that, everybody kind of focuses on the kids, the families, vacations, and we've just never found that, you know, from that period of time through Labor Day works very well. You're not going to get a whole lot of interest, support. People aren't going to get out and vote, you know, and really, you know, their priorities and I guess in other places that time of year.
Right. My only thought was that I think that depending on how quickly and how accurately we can get the information out to have a positive bond vote, I'm questioning. You know, I think if we voted today, I'm not sure it would pass, but I also think that there's a lot of non-information that's out there. Could we meet a June schedule? I don't know. But I agree, if you're losing people to vacations and what have you, especially if they are able to vacation this year, that would definitely leave us at a detrimental point.
Sharon? Whoops.
Bruce?
I would be curious to know if anybody'd venture a guess as to how soon all of these various and sundry funding sources might be firmed up. Could we even get the kind of commitments we need for funding by June?
You won't know the official statement. I don't anticipate it being an issue, but our budgets probably won't pass till May at the earliest, if not early June ourselves.
Wayne or another
Well,
town.
that stoppered the conversation.
You stumped us.
So,
Go ahead, Trinity.
a couple things on funding. The funding that you need from the state budget is the $1 million that's in the transportation budget. And we're hearing it's coming through the House untouched. I have not heard anything negative on the Senate side. I guess I didn't put a whole lot of worry on that. I think what you're looking for is a comfort level on when some of this additional funding that's coming in both to each municipality and level is going to be sorted out and made available to the communities. And you know, I don't know if Bethany is hearing anything different than I am, but we're hearing that that's going to happen by sometime in April. So I think you're going to be at a spot where on a lot of these grants and potential funding sources, you'll know in that maybe April, May timeframe to be able to really start plugging in what that funding mix looks like for this project. And I would say if all that falls in place, you would have plenty of time by which to go on a public education campaign to let folks know what this project looks like and what the kind of the funding mix looks like.
This is Bethany, and I'm just frantically looking at the League of Cities and Towns website because I believe they put out some of those timelines which were similar to what Trini was referring to.
And this is Wayne. Yeah, I would kind of agree with Trini too. And we also need to be mindful. One of the big pieces of this is the EDA. And the catch-22 with that is you can't, you know, submit and secure that funding until you have a positive bond vote. So, you know, the risk is if you wait too long, you know, you're potentially losing the Northern Borders grant. So, you know, I think as long as everybody feels comfortable, you've got, you know, the best information you can have, you know, there should be adequate time, you know, for an early June bond vote to get the information out to people.
If I could add, Sharon, that is, I think the sooner you can start getting some of the information out about the project, even if it doesn't involve the numbers right off, the better off the community will be. Reggie alluded to it. There is already, you know, on some of the Facebook pages, conversations about that there's no need for some of this development to occur, that the airport won't add, expansion won't add anything. So there's some negative stuff going on that you can combat up front just by letting the people know about the project itself, the need for the expansion as well as the industrial park, and start that campaign. And then you can wrap in the financial piece of it towards the end of it.
Yes, I agree. And yes, there's a lot of, like I said, non-information out there that goes along the wires, but we have been trying to do that by, you know, involving all of you in more meetings where people can watch at their leisure and say, oh, okay, that's what they mean, and try to get that information out to folks. For us, the town of Highgate tends to be a prudent town with their money, which is perfectly fine. I am that way myself, but I also believe in what Jeff said, that there is opportunity to be had, and there's good risk and bad risk, and this is a good risk.
I'd like to make a couple comments. Just from the select board's point of view, at least my own participation in it, Highgate's having to walk a pretty fine line here because this airport project is one of three major, very large projects that we're having to undertake. This is the one that has the most positive aspects. The other two are repairing a road that's falling into the river and repairing an old landfill that's falling into a stream, both of which are not going to generate any kind of future economic development. Nonetheless, we're looking at some very large expenses to take care of those matters. The other thing is, Mr. Carr put together a fantastic presentation for us somewhat over a year ago now. And it was pretty well attended by townspeople, but one of the big things I took away from that and from conversations subsequently is that this is a huge possible boon for the entire county, more so than just the town of Highgate, and also a boon for the state of Vermont. Mr. Carr could please correct my gross oversimplification, but 1,200 plus jobs in this kind of area, in my simple figuring, would generate over $50 million of economic growth. That strikes me as being pretty substantial. And we're going to need all the help we can get to sell that idea. Sharon said we're a prudent town. I'd say we're downright Scotch. We're a bunch of rock rib, hard scrabble Vermont dairy farmers. And, you know, it's tough to sell something of this magnitude to folks that are very, very conservative. So that's my speech.
Good news, Bruce, is it won't all happen overnight. As Tim said, it'll take a little bit of time. You know, probably 5 to 10 years to get part of the way there, and then probably 10 to 20 to get the rest of the way there. But you're right. I think I used the term transformational project. I think it really has that possibility, and it's all incumbent upon us to make, you know, the public understand what we're talking about.
Okay, so Richard, you are my hard scrabble. What do you feel when you listen to everyone talk about this? You're gonna have to unmute yourself. And don't swear. You're still muted. Your lips are moving and we can't hear what you're saying. There you go.
Hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I'll tell you, Sharon, I guess it's what Bruce said. I'm one of those hard-headed dairy farmers that was. I'm not following into this very well. I'm having trouble with it. 1,200 jobs. That means we're going to have a police department. We're going to have to have a bigger fire department. You know, I'm nervous, and you know, 1,200 jobs. Well, I don't believe that the Highgate can handle 1,200 jobs. You know, and we're a rural area, and then I'm tell you, I'm truthful with you. I'm not. I look around and at everybody here. I've been in Highgate the longest, you know, and people are coming in and they want to fill their pockets and leave. But what's in it for Highgate? You know, they put Walmart in St. Albans, and they made Walmart take care of downtown city St. Albans. Maybe somebody's got to take care of downtown Highgate here. You know, I don't know. I'm a little nervous, Sharon. You know, and what's in it for Highgate? Swanton's going to make out good. They got sewer and all that. What's Highgate going to get out of it in the long run? You know, it's going to cost us a lot of money.
Well, I can tell you that Swanton's not going to get much in return for the first few years. They have the opportunity to develop, but they would still be on the hook like Highgate 4, waiting for this project to actually pay off for them. You know, right now, to have the 2 or 3 that are hooked up to their sewer and water probably isn't the most profitable thing in the world, but it would be the potential.
Right.
But
I don't
can
know.
anyone else
No,
in the group speak to Richard's concerns or Richard, I'm not.
Sharon, I'll speak a little bit to Corey. So I work for the town of St. Albans in my day job, and I know you can talk about what Walmart brought, but it also got us to the point where we have a local option tax, and we make about $1 million a year off of that, and that's what built the Public Works Garage cash. We have a new town hall going up, almost cash, because we almost, you know, we're going to borrow a little bit. That will never be paid for by property tax owners. Granted, this is different, but you know, as Tim said, that industrial park in the town is the biggest base. We have $1 billion grand list, and the only reason, and it's by far the biggest one actually in the county. And it's only because of that, you know, Ben and Jerry's and Peerless and those other places in there. So, you know, the town of St. Albans, I think, was a lot like Highgate 30, 40 years ago. And at times still is. We don't like to spend all money. You know, we failed a bond vote last year to build half a pool with the city. We're still very conservative, but on economic development things, they've been good. And as far as, you know, I don't know how much political capital I have in Highgate. I usually come in second behind Randy there, but I'm happy, and I can't speak for the other ones. I'm willing to put in whatever capital I have, you know, in Highgate, you know, to vouch for this project. I think it's good for the whole region, and we'll still dig to find you more dollars, but I think Franklin County needs this as a whole. So I, you know, and I know it's a lot to ask of Highgate, but I think we've done what we've done a lot already to come up with money, and we'll continue to try to come up with more. But that's my sense of it.
I just kind of mentioned too, I think it depends on what people see as the future of Highgate, because you know, there are certainly, you know, whether or not it's 1,200 jobs, it may require some additional services, but it would also probably bring in some additional businesses that would grow the grand list that Corey mentioned, and that would benefit Highgate specifically. Because it will be a benefit to the region, just like the LVRT will be, but there are main benefits to Highgate that come along with just that development itself. It will bring development throughout Highgate and Swanton and other places too, but the main beneficiary would be Highgate.
Sharon, can I add a comment?
Yeah.
I'm a local business owner in the town of Highgate. I employ 5 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee. And you guys are talking about bringing 1,200 jobs in. We have to just about beg, steal, and borrow to fill these positions. That you would be hurting the existing businesses by pulling that many more employees, potential employees away. You could go for a little ride around here and talk to local business and finding qualified employees to fill the positions that are already here is a struggle. And you would only add to our struggles with an additional 1,200 jobs. So I know I've been sitting here listening tonight and I'm hearing all the pros, but there are going to be some cons coming along with a expansion of that size. You know, so just so everybody has a comment from the other side. That's all I want to add for tonight.
Okay. Reg, I'm sorry you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, Neil wanted to say something, and then I'll add something on Richard's commentary.
Yes, please.
Yes, Neil Spear. I've been Just talking to Richard, I've probably been in this territory a lot longer than he has. And I got a simple question for Richard and the naysayers in Highgate is you want progress or regress? You got the choice here of progress and the other option is regress. So look at it carefully before you go too much farther. Thank you.
That's an easy comment to say when you were putting a lot of tax burden on the Highgate taxpayers. That's pretty easy to say coming from Swanton.
Not listening at all.
So just Richard had a question about you know, the benefit to Swanton. I mean, we produce the water and we treat the wastewater. I mean, we don't make any money on it. It's you know, it's money in or water in, water out, and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, we recently needed to hire a hydro operator, and we you know, put jobs out. We had 15 applicants just for that job. Last summer we had Public Works. We had 25 applicants. So we're getting the people wanting to work for us. So not that I'm trying to crap on you, Scott, but we haven't had any issues here in the village.
Well, I think to speak to the workforce, I think our legislators could help with that as well. There are people that need assistance and there are people that do not. And there is, my philosophy is there's always something that a person could do. You might not be able to drive a truck, but maybe you can work in an office. If you can't work in an office, maybe you can be a flagger. And everybody should have a purpose. And it would be to the benefit of all of the businesses in the state of Vermont if more people that could work did work. Cliff?
And, you know, back to, you know, Wayne's point, this project isn't going to place a 1,200 job burden on this town or either towns in the span of even a year, 5 years. It's a 20-year plan. You know, this is going to be a slow progress of building out this project. But this is something where if you don't put this in, it's never going to happen. Versus, you know, the slow growth that you want to have as a town entity on both sides, you know, Swanton and Highgate, you know, to grow as a town and generate additional revenue.
Tim?
Yeah, Cliff took one of my comments. I totally agree with Cliff. The 1,200 jobs, that's if you're lucky, that's 20 years down the road. As for employment, yes, everyone's struggling to find good help. What the county has going for us is we have approximately 10,000 people that get on the interstate and head south to go to work. And that's every day. And we do have about 4,500 coming into town. So there's about a $6,000 net loss of employees or workers that leave the county. That's our opportunity. That's our opportunity to draw some of those back into the county, keep them here working, being involved in the communities, select boards, school boards, little league coaches. So that's what has always been our opportunity. And that out-migration has shrunk since IBM or Global Foundries has reduced in size. But, you know, the other thing we hear all the time, besides not only finding good help, but the fact that there's no jobs here for our kids to stay and work. They're all, you know, they leave the county, they leave the state, they leave New England to find jobs, raise a family. Well, here's an opportunity that's going to be, the expectation would be that there would be good jobs that could keep people here, keep families here. And I don't think we want to lose sight of that. So that was my comment.
Okay.
Sharon, to that point, you know, the conversation we're having right now, the less technical conversation, is just as critical. And again, I think you need to be very, very strategic in the marketing and the promotion of this. Some of the great questions that Richard brings up and Scott brings up in the conversation on workforce. I think you're best to start a series right off in which we use some of the questions that your own, you know, the part of the your own team is asking to start engaging the public and educating the public and answering those questions now before you get out in front of it, before you get to a bond vote.
Right, right. Vern, I don't want to leave you out. What do you think?
Great commentary by everybody. I'm one of those guys that likes to sit back and be analytical and take everybody's comments. This goes back to, if you want to make money, you got to spend money. I learned that early on in my life in my first lawn mowing business. I'd buy lawn equipment to make money. It's expanded from there. Some of the points that were brought up about the commuting, I'm one of those commuters. Instead of going south, I go west to New York every day, 60 miles. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do that here. I have a college kid. She's a sophomore. She's getting ready to leave the state for all the reasons that were brought up. High cost of living, all that stuff. Love to do it here. Love to tell her there's jobs available here in Highgate for her, but there aren't right now. So I'm 100% for this. I'm in the aviation industry to begin with, so I'm kind of biased that way, but I've never seen a better opportunity location-wise next to the border, along an interstate, a town that wants to develop, has all the infrastructure that's needed. It's just, I think it's a great opportunity. It won't pay dividends, I don't think, right away, but like everybody was saying, over next decade to 20 years, I think this is going to be a great money maker, and it's going to improve the quality of life in Highgate and Swanton and all the surrounding towns. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. All right. So does anyone else have any other comments or questions? All right. So I'm going to thank each and every one of you for coming and speaking with us. We certainly need to do a good job at what Kathy suggested, is getting out in front of some of the rumor mills and to address some of the issues that people have in the community, like Richard and Scott. Richard and Scott are by no means the only people that are questioning the project. So if we can get some of those answers either compromised or explained out or treated with respect, and listen to those comments and find a way to work together, I think this would be a great project. So again, I say thank you very much for coming tonight. We look forward to working with all of you again and seeing you again. We do thank you for all the time you've put in for us, and we will certainly be in touch.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you for having us, and don't hesitate to invite us again.
All right, thank you.
Now remember. Sharon, Heidi, thank you for inviting Swanton Village.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So let's go right on to Wendy. Wendy is going to play Shelley tonight as well, because Shelley is Oh, you are here.
I'm here.
Tom's here.
All right. Are you feeling better, my dear?
I've felt worse, so we're surviving.
That's good. So, Shelley, would you like to go first then?
Sure. So I just really had the check warrant prepared for you this week. That's all I mustered energy up to do.
Yeah, that's fine. So does anyone have any questions about the check warrant? Okay, do I have a motion to sign the check warrant at a later date, but approve the check so Shelley can mail them?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second from Vern. Okay. Third from Richard. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you,
That's all.
Shelley.
Thank you.
Whoa, hey,
Go get some
Sharon.
rest. Yes.
Sharon, yeah, I got
Yes.
a question for Shelley. I don't know if it's okay to bring it up now, but Butch called me tonight, and is that more or that we sold 4 or 5 years ago?
Okay, yes. I did
The
receive
guy-
a call. Yep, I received a call from John Gifford earlier this week.
Yeah.
And he was going to speak with Butch about asking for a lower purchase price.
Yeah, Butch. Okay.
I don't have
Butch,
any other details.
Okay, Butch called me tonight and said that the guy wants a lower price for it, and Butch said he didn't feel that he should get it for any lower price. He said he just wanted us to know and leave it up to the board. Anybody there?
My conversation with John Gifford on the telephone, I basically told him that the board would make the decision whether to give him a lower price or not. It didn't hurt to ask, but that it did go out to bid, and that is the price that he had basically bid to pay. So I don't think he's expecting a lower amount, but I think he was asking if a lower amount would be accepted.
Okay.
Speed on this?
A couple years ago, there's a roadside mower that does not work on any tractor we have. I don't think it's been used. The highway department had put it out to bid. A gentleman named John Gifford won the bid at $6,000. He was making payments monthly at $500 increments. He paid $3,000. His last payment was May 2017, and I never heard from him again. We still have the tractor. In fact, our attorney advised us to advertise it in the paper, as Butch thought he had it sold again. So I did hear from John Gifford just this week, and he's willing to pay it off and come collect, but he was asking if a lower amount would be accepted. Currently, he owes $3,000 from the original handshake.
Thank you. My opinion is no, we do not reduce the price. It went out to public bid. So if we start reducing the price for we're already extending the guy payment terms for a longer period of time than was initially set up. We can thank him very much for his $3,000 and put the whole thing back out to bid if he wants.
I think he's more than willing to pay the remaining and come collect his piece of machinery finally.
That's just my opinion.
I agree with you, Bruce.
Vern?
I'll third that. Yes. Everything Bruce said. Agreed.
Okay, and I'll fourth it. So it stands at 6. We'll happily take your additional $3,000 and help you load it.
I will make that phone call tomorrow.
Boy,
All
Sharon,
right.
you make the deal even
Thank
sweeter.
you, Shelley.
Help him load it. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we've been sitting around for 5 years.
5 years of free storage.
Yeah.
No extra
Okay.
charge for dust.
There you go. Wendy, sorry about that. I cut you off there.
I don't care. My fingers are going numb over here. Typing like a maniac. I will be quick. Minutes from March 4th.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
I have a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Our rabies vaccination clinic is next Saturday, March 27th. I want to make sure people know this is a rabies vaccination clinic for dogs and cats, not humans. So I did have one person call and heard there was a vaccination clinic at the arena. I'm like, yes, but not for humans. It's for dogs and cats. Give her. So anyway,
you get all the fun phone calls.
Yes, I do. It's a good thing they can't see me.
Does that go on? Is that going along with the COVID vaccinations? We need rabies now too?
Yeah, apparently so. There are some humans I think could use it, but for these purposes, it is dogs and cats on the 27th. We did make the decision. We are opening at 9 o'clock from 9 to 10 for Highgate residents. We thought that was, we discussed it last year, and quite honestly, I forgot about it. And so I'm getting the word out, and 9 to 10 Highgate residents, and then 10 to 12 for anybody, any town, Highgate residents as well, if you can't make it at 9. I did talk to Cheryl at the vet today. They'll have a full staff. It'll be me and Shelly. I know Richard is planning to be there. Our ACO Shelby is planning to be there. If anybody's got any time on their hands, any rec people, I see some rec people on here. Look at them, Mark, whoever. We'll be at the arena and it'll be a busy day. Everybody's blocking themselves out. Mark.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're free and you want to help, Richard, can I still count on you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And dog licenses themselves are due April 1st. Shelby has been making phone calls. So that's my spiel on that. And every year you sign the dog warrant for Shelby. It's a state verbiage. I emailed it to everybody. All I do is change the date and the names at the bottom. So I'll need a motion to approve that, and I can follow up with signatures from all of you. Look at Vern's background. That is an angry dog.
I want to clarify, this is a rabies clinic and not a COVID clinic, right?
Whoa.
Okay, do we have a motion to sign?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, excellent. That's it for me.
Okay. Heidi, we're making it quick. What you got? You got to unmute yourself.
Hey,
There you go.
Thank you. Just one form for FEMA, another match form was in your packet. If you authorize that, I will get Sharon to sign it. And then this is the last document to submit for the FEMA home buyout on the Macy Road.
Okay, do we have a motion to sign that?
So,
okay, Bruce, you can second.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. I have information on No Before, which is the tech training we talked about last time. If you'd rather talk about that next time, there's nothing urgent about that. But I got a quote. It's a minimum of 3-year commitment for a total of $1,647. We would have to appoint a person to manage the program and be the point person for that. So we could potentially ask Matt Bouchard if he wants to do it, or we could find someone in-house.
All right. Let's table that until next time.
Okay. Dick Harper is asked to use the Highgate Falls Park. I put his information in your packet with a map. He has a plan to park people coming in both sides on the upper side of the park, and then use the lower park for seating, spacing people out. Put all the dimensions in there. I shared it with Ty. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. Do you have any thoughts?
I looked at it real quick, Heidi, but reading it, I got real confused. I was hoping to be able to hear him explain it in person tonight, but
yeah, I never heard back from him. So I guess we can put that up to the next meeting as well.
Okay, yep.
Okay. I did put a spreadsheet in there for as much as I know about the Recovery Act. It looks like Franklin County will get $9.58 million for use in one of 5 different categories, water and sewer. So that should be the next installment that was mentioned tonight. I think Ty is also here to talk about, we were approached again by a nonprofit that is helping rural communities expand Wi-Fi spots during the COVID, excuse me, pandemic. So I've been chatting with Randy about this. I think Randy's still on too. So excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you gentlemen just want to talk about it?
I don't know if Ty wants, if you want me to go for it, or.
I think, Randy, you know more about it.
Okay, so through Heidi, I can't remember the company's name, but it sounds like we may be able to have 2 access points. So like wireless routers, basically, installed at the Highgate Arena. And I think that that company asked us to prioritize it, the locations, so that if we were limited to only having 1 installed, they would know which to install. And I think in talking with Ty, we thought the north facing part of the arena, somewhere between like the boys outfield and the girls backstop, somewhere around that area. And then the second priority would be an access point, I think, facing on the south, facing the south end. It would cover the parking lot. I don't know exact location there, but maybe toward the center. And I don't know if Heidi, I think there's some talk about trying to match the equipment that was already there. Because my understanding is at some point, the maintenance cost of operating these devices would be turned over to the town. So I was just thinking that if that company could match that hardware, that it would make it easier for an IT person, Bouchard, to manage them all. And I still don't know. I think it would probably be good to find out what those costs would be, just so the town knows what the burden would be. After thinking about it for a little bit myself, if those costs were, for whatever reason, deemed to be too much, I think the town could just choose not to renew the support license or whatever on those if it were to come to that. So I don't see any risk really of allowing them to go ahead. And yeah, I generally just wanted to run it by the select board. I think the previous ones had been, so just trying to follow suit there.
Sure.
I think that's what I have.
Okay.
I agree with what Randy's saying in that I think the last time the equipment is granted to us and installed, and it just runs off our existing internet system. But after a 3 or 5 year period, depending on the equipment, we would have to relicense it if it's still functional equipment and practical to do so. And it was like 100 something for each access. So we can decide if it's still a necessary thing at that time or not.
Okay. What's the board think? I'm fine with it. Bruce?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Vern?
Yep, I'm in favor.
Richard?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, let's have a motion just to make it all nice.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, thank you, Randy.
Before you go, Randy, I went through some of the information we had on the other sites and I could not find any real data on the product. So maybe we can just send them some pictures.
Yeah, that access point is exposed outside, so maybe there's a brand and model number on it. I could probably swing by and zoom in as best I can to try to get a photo and send it over.
Great.
Yeah. Do you have the contact person for that install? Because I'd be happy to try to reach out to see if they could provide the model. I'd assume they have it in their records somewhere.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the only other thing was that Joe DePatie had hoped to be here tonight, but had a conflict. So the truck did not receive any bids. So he was going to come back with another plan. But I guess that will also be on the next agenda.
Where was that advertised, Heidi?
It was posted on the state website, the VT bids for all state bidders, and the department shared it with the other departments that they have contacts for, and it went in the other normal places, the paper, and posted around town.
Okay. My thought about that is that truck's sitting at Scott Bassett's. If he's willing to keep it there for a little while, I would suggest that we put it out to bid again in a month.
I'm good with it there, Sharon.
All right. I would hate to let the truck go for nothing. It's a good truck. should be worth, but at least between 10 and 20,000. And I think there are other options for that truck than just giving it away.
Is there any assets to it, Sharon, for the town to keep it? The fire department to put it away for a backup or convert it to a tanker or something? Because it is.
Yeah, I know. I know. We talked about that before, and I asked Joe, what he thought about that, and he wasn't crazy about the idea, but he wasn't really specific as to why he wasn't crazy about that idea.
One thing is we don't have no place to store it. Our station's pretty much full.
Right.
Well, that won't fit in the shed over where the old truck is?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a little bit taller than the old truck. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is there any possibility they might want it at the airport?
Maybe.
It's a 7-speed and not many people know how to drive it. Is that true?
That's true. It's complicated. It's interesting.
Come on,
that's why they make them little diagrams on the dash.
You're saying you got to double. You got to double clutch it, Richard.
Yeah, double clutch it, and you can shift it up, but it's when you got to come. Boy, she grinds, and oh boy, take some practice. Am I right, Scott?
I can drive an 18-speed, so I think a straight 7 would be pretty simple, Richard.
Okay. but this one is hard. I tell you what, I've had a hard time with it myself. Not gonna lie to anybody.
But like Sharon said, it's be an awful shame to give that truck away, because I gave it the once over when it was in my shop there, and that thing is immaculate. It might be 25 years old, but it's all but new.
I think the biggest problem with that truck, as far as I can remember, and it is the pump. The pump was starting to give a lot of trouble as far as pumping with it. But I guess the truck itself is good, but I know we've had trouble with the pump.
Okay. So let's move on. Heidi, who sent the letter from Swanton about the property there?
Oh, the rail trail? That was a draft from Kathy Lavoie. She wanted it known that that was not from any professional spot. That came from her as a Swanton resident. She's trying to generate interest so encouraging the select board not to sell a piece of property that had previously been voted on to sell. And so I think they held a big meeting Tuesday night.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's a bad place to get in the middle of. I don't think that's any of our business. I wouldn't want them to come into Highgate and tell us how to run things, and I don't think we should do it to Swanton either.
Understood. I mentioned to her that might be a tough fit. I know the record.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think they already voted on it Tuesday night, and they decided not to sell it for another year.
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, that's it for me. I don't have anything else. There's some
okay.
Select board.
So the zoning contract isn't through yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we did the fire truck. VCRD, our membership is up for renewal.
Yeah, it's a membership slash donation. And I would want Shelley to chime in. I don't know when the last time a check was issued to them, but the letter says that, you know, they're looking for support.
One quick second here. So they're part of our appropriations, and they received 150 along with all the others in December. I'm not sure. I think that letter was it a thank you letter?
They're asking us to become a member.
I guess I didn't read it thoroughly because we paid them in December with all the other appropriations.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're feeling better, Shelley, just follow up with that.
Will do.
Okay. Rec department, do you have anything for the public meeting or only executive?
Well, I sent a letter to the select board and Heidi as well about our shortcomings due to COVID regulation restrictions.
Yes.
And I followed that up with statements from 18 through current as well, our financial statements.
Great.
So hearing from Mr. Brock, Randy Brock, about 360,000 coming in. Of course, I don't know the restrictions on what those funds are for, but I don't know, did everybody get a chance to read through that letter and the numbers?
Yes, very well done. Thank you.
No problem. I had a little bit of help there. A little bit of help.
Bruce, did you see that letter?
Yes.
Richard?
No, I did not.
Sorry about that, Bruce. Go ahead.
No, I was just looking for it in our package here.
Is it in the package?
No, it just was a later email.
Yeah, I just emailed it today.
Oh, that's right.
We just heard
Separate
the other
email.
day.
Okay, yeah, I'll pull it up. Give me a second.
We just heard about the other day about funds being released to municipalities, so we put that together with our recreation coordinator, programs coordinator today, as well as excellent input and help by Shelley and Wendy. So. Long story short, compared to our 2 previous years of running and statements, due to multiple shutdowns and restrictions on how we can operate and costs, we're down about 98, well over half of our revenues to date. So about 98,000. That is all directly COVID related. So we're looking for, if we're getting support, or if the town's looking at getting support, this is a major hit for us.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to come out of this most recent. There's been ongoing opportunities to apply for losses through VLCT and Vermont Community Economic Development. Yeah, they have been circulated.
Okay, so that's the first I've heard of that, unfortunately.
Okay, so Heidi, can you see if any of those programs are still open?
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, can we get on board with that and see if we can get some funds there? If not, can we keep track of NRPC, and as the money gets released, if we can find out exactly what the restrictions are on that money, so that we don't allocate it all to one place without knowing if we have any options.
No, see, hearing from the representatives and stuff on how fast things are moving with this monies and that, I mean, I went on Big Cities and Towns tonight and found some information while we were listening to the airport stuff. I mean, I think we need to be checking that website a couple times a day, you know, as we move forward and getting as much information as fast as it comes out, because it sounds like it's happening in lightning speed.
Right.
I didn't know about it. It was public knowledge. I thought you had to be signed in as a member to even find any information on there, but I got on and within 5 minutes I had the spreadsheet of what each town is projected to get. So
yeah.
We have excellent advocates working for us in Regional Planning Commission and FCIDC. They're feeding it to us as soon as they get. So.
Have other departments in the town seen any losses due to COVID restrictions or anything? I know in the town office itself, there must be some losses there for title searches and copies and stuff like that.
Not as much as you'd think, Mark, because we got digitized. We were online almost as quickly as we shut down.
Oh, wow. So we're the only department that's really losing.
You were hit the hardest. I would say the fire department, the highway department, and the library department not necessarily have as much loss, but have definitely had extra expenses in PPE or like the plastic guard at the library station, different expenses like that. And I don't know that the library brings in revenue per se in that department. And same with the fire department and the highway. So their losses are more on the expenditure side than the revenue side.
Right. So that was a quick outline of what we project as losses due to lost revenues, as well as a little blip about how we our extra costs related to higher levels of sanitizing beyond what our typical sanitizing is. Purchasing a fogger and then different cleaning agents to house to do the proper stuff with, and PPE. So just want to make sure everybody was aware that, well, today we're good. That's a major hit. I mean, we go to the taxpayers for some money, but the majority of our department's revenues are generated through those ice sales and then potential building sales as well, which we didn't have for last summer. So,
right.
Yeah, ouch.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I just got to put that out there.
I'm going to tell you that I may lose you on my phone because I'm having trouble with my computer audio again, but if not, I will listen and not speak. But go ahead, Richard.
Mark, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, just talking. If you what you know now, would have you done anything different this winter from the start with what you know now?
I guess maybe not legally, but yeah. You know, we sat back and we waited. You know, a lot of our customers weren't able to fundraise through the summer like they typically are able to do. So we decided, and waiting on governor, we pushed back our open date very, very late this year. And then we were open for what, 3 weeks, Ty?
Yeah, something like that.
And then he slammed the door in our face for a month and a half almost, if not more than a month and a half. Just shut everything down. And then he's like, oh, no, I didn't tell you guys you can't operate, except for everything that he wrote said you can't operate. without coming out and saying it. They basically said you can't operate. I don't know that I would have done anything different, Richard, per se. We were always above and beyond. We actually gave a little bit more than a lot of other places because we felt we owed it to our community and our members. And any chance I get to put kids on the ice and participate in skating or hockey or anything. I mean, unfortunately, we weren't able to offer public skating this year due to restrictions. I think, Richard, the only thing I might have done a little bit differently is I might have put a sheet outside. So when we were shut down, the general public could have skated.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to say something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think, you know, we were all kind of just waiting in the lurch to have everything open, and then it ended up being too late. So I think in the future, maybe that's something we're going to explore, put an outside skating piece in, and it's always on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
If I might add to that, I will say the single family or single household family gatherings skates was, I think it was wildly popular. And I think that went really well. So kudos for allowing families to get a full sheet or half sheet of ice.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only opportunity we had to get families out there that weren't within an organization. And, you know, our programs coordinator, Lee, he really stepped up. And I mean, we had a weekend, we had MVU cancel and Maha cancel. And within the next day, he had 5 or 6 families signed up, or maybe more than that even, for the following day and the day after that, the Saturday and Sunday. So, well, they're not big revenue generators. I mean, I think we can all agree that anybody getting out and recreating during this interesting times that we have right now is well worth the efforts. I'll field any further questions.
May have lost Sharon.
Yeah, I think she's gone.
Oh. She's still here.
Her audio's out.
Who's second in charge here?
Bruce.
All right,
So
Bruce, you
what's
probably have
next?
to pick up the reins.
What's next on the agenda? And where did I put that? Select board packet. Okay. We're basically down to executive session, it looks like, if we need it.
Bruce, are you there, Bruce? Yeah. While we got a couple of the rec board there, I'd like to ask them how they're coming on snack bar for the summer at the arena.
We discussed it real quick Monday night. We haven't made any grounds on it. We were hoping you were to attend, Richard. And
yeah, I should be attend next time. I've been basketball and everything, so I should be all set now.
Yeah, there's been talks, you know, that maybe this year is the year to do a food truck. Some of us are still on board with doing 2 leases with because our current leasee isn't interested in doing year round, and don't know if they would be interested in trying to third party sublet. So the discussion still, we haven't made any grounds on it, but we haven't put it to bed either. So
have you, have you thought about doing something, doing something themselves with getting somebody interested in rec doing it, or?
we haven't got to that point yet.
Okay.
I don't think that we've established our whole deal quite strong enough yet to take on running the snack bar too. I worked at a facility where we ran everything inside, and the snack bar is probably the biggest headache of the whole thing. So,
okay, yeah.
To be honest with you, it's a bit of a headache with staffing and everything else. We did discuss it, and it's kind of going to fall back to on the town's. Was it a $15 fee or something? Obviously, we wouldn't be interested in that, but for this summer, we were talked about possibly entertaining having a food truck or somebody with a concession trailer in the parking lot on a scheduled basis of some sort, but we never came to a consensus with that because of the current contracts that the town has in place that they're supposed to be revisited at some point. I'm not sure which department is supposed to be seeing those.
Right.
$15 a day just kind of isn't me.
Right. I agree with you, Mark. And I know the board has talked about it in the past, and I think we just keep setting it aside, and I think that's something the board's going to have to get on the agenda and do something about too.
Yeah, because that's a hold up point for us if we do if we end up exploring that route for at least this summer.
Yeah.
So is this contract coming up for renewal soon?
When is that up?
The lease for the,
I think they're July to June.
So it's yearly.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm on the planning commission. We are working on them vending ordinances.
Okay,
so
cool.
We're looking for input from people exactly like you. What would you guys look for out of that? Would you want a percentage of the income? The vending ordinance could be just the $15 a day, and you guys could work out a contract with whoever you get in there for maybe a percentage of the income or something. You know, I don't believe in the vending ordinance we're going to have specifics like that, or we haven't discussed those yet.
Right. I mean, vending covers a wide spectrum of different things. I mean, if somebody wants to set a table out to sell popcorn or something like that, well, $15 is probably pretty. But if somebody's going to pull up with a food truck or a concessions trailer and make $400 or $500 a day, that really doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Right. I mean, so you know, any input you could give us on the planning commission about that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure who was handling that, so we could do it as simple as what Field Days does.
Well, we're working on figuring that out, aren't we, Heidi?
Yeah. A lot of different things are called vending. So
right.
we're sorting through all the different potential uses.
So Scott, do you think you'll be discussing this again at your next meeting?
I'm pretty sure it'll be on the agenda.
Okay, so maybe coming to your next meeting might be somebody from the RAC may be a good idea.
I'll send you the drafts that we started.
Okay.
We started amending it at the last one.
Oh.
so does it need to be on the select board's agenda? any time in the near future to be considering looking at doing 2 contracts for the use of that facility?
You mean for the pro shop and the snack bar?
No, I'm thinking in terms of splitting the snack bar lease up into 2 different time periods.
Right.
Whereas you guys handle that yourselves?
Well, typically, if we have any contract changes, it's a contract with the town, not with the arena or the rec department. So those changes would have to go to you. So.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's changes, then we're gonna have to run them through the select board. My understanding, anyways.
Yeah. I think to answer Bruce, I don't think it would be next select board meeting. I think you're probably looking at 2 select board meetings away from seeing any changes in a contract. By the time we get discussions that moving forward.
I will tell you that our current leasee, that little snack bar has never been cleaner or kept in better shape.
Right.
Yeah, it's only used half the year, but I know when they moved into it, they spent a good month in there cleaning. Actually, they spent all summer, didn't they tell you?
Yeah.
They were there almost every day.
Some days I wonder what they were doing, but yeah, you could definitely tell it's clean, and it is clean.
All of our equipment, because all the equipment in there is owned by the town. It's all very well taken care of. And one concern is that if we do half-year leases, obviously there's a lag time in between. There would have to be a lag time in between change in ownership and just the condition of the equipment and the space. Also, access into the building. If you've got just that going, and I don't think we can currently lock the building outside of the lobby, because you can get down the hallway and it's just people roaming around in the building without any of our staff there. Kind of a point of concern for us. We would love to have that snack bar open minimum 2 nights a week throughout the summer. Huge parking lot. Scott, your drivers could swing right in, pick up lunch, and head back to the field. Get food all over inside your cabs.
I think one of the biggest concerns of the current lessee is their Vermont health license. They are inspected by the state, and if they were going to sublet, whose license is that?
Right.
So I think that was a concern.
Right. If it's a sublet versus a split contract.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, moving forward, I think
the quickest fix, if you want something going on right now, is somebody putting a food trailer out there. Either some of our local guys, I know there's a handful of local guys that will probably jump at it. We just need to get the planning commission part of that down with some good input and work together with them to figure out a viable solution that's good for everybody involved.
So Sharon, I think, is out of the loop. She did send a text about the vending ordinance that planning is working on it. So she does have chat capacity, and I assume she can hear us. So we can continue. And Vern just reminded me about the question about a concert, if you want to bring that up, you could talk about that. I don't know if you've all seen it. There was a request from a Swanton resident who wanted to try to organize a concert at Field Days for drive-in vehicles, and Vern has pulled them up. I suggested she called Field Days, and she said she had. Didn't reply to her, but it's sugaring season, so, or maybe they just aren't interested. I don't know. But she reached out to me, so I just forwarded it to you, select board members. That's the band. Vern has pulled it up. It's pretty hard rock. It's definitely not country country western. So I don't know what the select board's take on it would be. They have done a few other concerts by doing just drive-in. People stay in their cars. They limit the number of sales, and they have a required number of people per car. So it would be a fair amount of traffic, it sounds like, and they would potentially stay in their cars. But for a concert, it's quite likely that they're going to be getting out, using the bathroom, have to be portalette. So just to put it on your radar, and I have no idea if Field Days would even entertain it. So
it would depend on what they have scheduled. I mean, they often have weddings, and well, even still, they still do some weddings. So I know Lee's Gates is doing the booking for the weddings. So
yeah.
For the Field Days.
Well, if you have any suggestions for this woman, you could just shoot them to me. I'll let her know who she could reach out to.
Well, it'd either be Lee's or Fernand. For Field Days, that is.
Okay. Any other further business with the Recreation Department?
Just an executive.
So is that where we're at, Heidi?
Yes.
So who do we need to include in executive session?
That would be up to Ty and Mark and Randy. They are all members of the rec board now.
Yep.
So
I think the three of us, and I'd ask Shelley to come in case we had any questions for her, if that was all right.
Heidi, do you need to attend? Do you want to attend?
Who are you asking?
You.
Oh, me? No, I don't have to attend. I would have to give someone else the privilege of being the host.
All right.
Can be done.
Well, in which case, I think we be appropriate to have a motion to exit regular select board session and enter executive session for, I don't remember the verbiage, but legal and personnel and such sort of matters. With Heidi and Ty Schwarnier and Mark, Randy Connolly and Shelley in attendance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll join too.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you other folks very much for your attendance, and Well, hope you have a good remainder to your evening.